me tell you a story. It was December of 2014. An uncle had hosted a barbecue of sorts. I remember it was... Though I could be wrong, my memory gets quite foggy sometimes. On that day, it was one of the few times in which all my cousins were all together, you know? Been a long time since that has happened. We were all talking, I don't know about what, probably Mario Brothers or something like that. We were huge Nintendo fans back in the days. However, one of my cousins suddenly pulled out their iPads, and they began playing an odd little video game. We all watched in awe, as some of them already knew what this game was about. Me, though? I had no idea. As the game went on, we all found ourselves to be scared. Scared by a batch of plastic anthropomorphic animals, as well as some much rustier variations of the same roster. As my cousin pulled up what I now know was the mask, I made a prediction. What if we were part of a family dynasty which involves these anthropomorphic animals? As the alarms in the game continuously blared, we were all suddenly jump-scared by a metallic fox animatronic, jumping towards us from the empty hallway. The screen cut to static, and we then cut to a screen of the same mask but with a bear-like figure standing directly at us. It was horrifying. On that day, I discovered something that would change my life completely. On that day, I discovered 5 Nights at Freddy's.
Hello? Oh, hello. I wanted to get you settled in for your first night. Things won't seem how they should. You got no defense. And most importantly, so let me bite you. Don't wanna fight you. I wanna call you within my eternal.
On the 8th of August of 2014, a small indie horror game known as 5 Nights at Freddy's was released on Steam. The game was made entirely by Scott Cawthon, who at the time was essentially a broke individual. He had just finished making Chippers & Co., which turned out to be a failure due to the fact that the game's designs were apparently disturbing. Scott seemingly took the criticism very seriously, and went on to make what he mentioned would be his final game before retiring to do God knows what, honestly. He could have been a movie star at this point. The game was released around the time when the indie horror scene was starting to boom. Creepypastas were the next big thing, with Slender Man and abandoned by Disney exploiting the creepypasta genre, whilst games like Outlast and Dead Space were being released as massive AAA video games. However, 5 Nights at Freddy's seemingly came out of nowhere, and the word of mouth of the next big horror video game spread around like a wildfire in Australia. In the game, we were playing as an unsuspecting night watchman who was recently hired in the night watch at a popular local children's place known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. As her night shift begins, we receive a call from another fellow employee at the other end of the phone. His words provide insight on the strange history of the location, as we learn more disturbing details based on the location's history. We learn of a supposed incident that occurred known as the Bite of 87. We learn that 5 children were mysteriously lured into the back rooms by a figure wearing a spare suit. However, as the disturbing details crumble into us, we realize something once we switch to the main stage camera of the building. The animatronics have vanished. The simple premise for such a short horror game somehow caused such a massive discourse to the horror community. By only mere days after its launch, everyone knew about its existence. Everybody knew about the game, everybody knew about Freddy and the gang, the missing children's incident, the mysterious phone guy. It was known throughout the world. Suddenly, just the name Freddy alone sparked millions to think about the creepy bear. Everyone rushed to make theories about the game's meaning, users such as 8-Bit Gaming and the game theorists. People started playing the game such as Markiplier and PewDiePie. Suddenly, the game became a cultural sensation, achieving almost the same level of cultural appreciation and success as Minecraft in only the span of a few weeks. Suddenly, Scott began releasing more content set in this game's universe that fascinated everyone. He released a second game, then the third game, then a fourth game, then a spin-off, and officially concluded his part of the storyline around 4 years after the release of the first game, handing over the keys to Steel Wolf Studios. The game had become a viral sensation, as everyone seemingly talked about it. Not a single soul didn't know about the existence of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Suddenly, as things continued ramping up, what once was a small but dedicated community began to spark, turning into what is now known as the FNaF community. The community would prove to contain some of the most talented people out there, ranging from artists to fellow 3D modelers. However, by far the most influential part of Five Nights at Freddy's in the community were the massive amounts of Five Nights at Freddy's fan games out there. Usually, fan games were created by a group of people with a shared love of the FNaF franchise, with each one seemingly sharing their own unique tone, storyline, and personality to it, with their own unique directors having their own unique creative vision. A game following a rival company of Fazbear's that featured similar characters in an almost Tom and Jerry atmosphere of a burger place. A game which literally broke the fourth wall and saw the FNaF characters attempt to kill and replace Scott Cawthon and his family. A game set in a retro-futuristic environment following a literal robot working on an experiment within a pizzeria filled with scarecrows. A game set in an abandoned facility where you have to collect relics from a company that frequently collaborated with Fazbear Entertainment. A game which reinvents and recontextualizes the lore and storyline of Five Nights at Freddy's, featuring a series of old theories and rumors. A game which focuses on the more paranormal side of FNaF and sees its attempt to literally exorcise the building from an evil spirit. The unique variety of fan games often created much more motivation and sparked larger creativity within its members, as some of them wanted a piece of the pie, and not just fame but also the fun of making a piece of media based off of something that you loved. It seemed as if for a while, the FNaF community and the FNaF games seemed to be some of the most well-respected out there, with the games proving to just simply be hit after hits and the community being known as some of the most collaborative and talented out there. It seemed as if FNaF had a bright future ahead of it. Until 2020 came, the year in which the world changed forever. After the official announcement of the Fazbear Fanverse initiative and the release of Security Breach, things took a turn for the worst. Suddenly, all the spark, all the joy of the discussion and the fan theory, of the collaborations and the friendships, it's all seemed to go great. Something positive and heartwarming turned into a rotting and disgusting disease. The release of Security Breach wasn't received as positively as everyone had hoped it would be. People started leaving the community because of it, and discussion over the game's content began creating hellfires all over the community, as people began to fight each other and constantly argue over what something meant and what was or wasn't canon. People started becoming angrier and much more toxic, and eventually sub-communities within the FNaF community grew to become also very toxic as well. The announcement of the Fazbear Fanverse initiative, although an actually great thing when you really analyze it, really only brought more hellfires within the community, as people began to compare what once were pieces of fun media, which has now turned into competition. Everyone tried to become the #1 fan game developer. Everyone started trying to create a fan game that was so good it could rival the franchise itself, with the sole purpose of getting into the said Fazbear initiative. This led to major intercourses, such as Afton Built, the Pear drama, the Kane Carter Theft King situations, the Jonochrome allegations, and most recently, the cancellation of Five Nights at Freddy's Plus. Suddenly, cancel culture became rooted within the fanbase. People within the community started being exiled and cancelled left to right. Some of these were just, such as Ultranite and Jonochrome, but others were just out of pure spite, such as Fisnum and even Scott Cawthon himself. If someone were to accuse me of being a pedophile, I'd be cancelled, obviously, but what if I weren't a pedophile? What if I was accused just because that person simply didn't like me and wanted me out of everyone's lives? I tried to defend myself, obviously, but people wouldn't end up believing me, and I'd be thrown in the dumpster. This is how far cancel culture has reached into the community, and this is how far the adrenaline of exposing someone or releasing hatred towards someone could go. However, even after everything, I still maintained my faith in the community. I still saw something good in it. Until... In summer of 2023, Film Work, also known as FISNM, was cancelled due to reasons that were clearly very unjust and even somewhat unfair. To me, this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. This was the moment when I realized that this community just can't be redeemed. This will never stop. I've said this repeatedly to some of my closest friends, but sometimes I wish I could just leave the community and move on to do something else, move on to a warmer community, a more welcoming community in which toxicity isn't a staple of it. But I can't. Why? Well, because I owe so much to these games. I've been thinking of departing from, the community. However, even if I left the community, I would not stop playing the FNaF games. I will not stop enjoying the FNaF fan games. I will not stop supporting the franchise and some of the most talented individuals behind these games, because they deserve it. True talent deserves to be properly seen by the world. And it's not like I desperately need the franchise off my head. There are very few things I regret, and this franchise is not it. I consider myself to be a believer of God. And if God or Jesus or anyone like that came up to me and all of a sudden said, "Son, this is the opportunity to get this game out of your mind, out of your world. I'll be able to change history for you to never have been involved with this. Will you take the risk?" I would say no in a heartbeat. I'd say no because without FNaF, I probably wouldn't have gotten into horror as much as I have. I probably still would have made movies and written screenplays, but most people know me for being a horror writer. There aren't many of those out there. Plus this franchise, it introduced me to some of the most talented and wonderful people out there, some of which I may actually be able to consider as friends. I say this in the bottom of my heart. But I would like to personally thank Scott Cawthon, the man himself. Without you, careers wouldn't have been made, lives wouldn't have been saved, and dreams wouldn't have come true. As the ultimate tribute, I've compiled a large tribute segment for the legacy that this wonderful franchise has left behind in the world. And this is my proper thank you. And to everyone that has helped me along in this journey. For now though, I will say, thank you. And I'll see you on the flip side.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's, an indie horror game that you guys suggested en masse.
Everyone. My mom called me to play and she's like, why haven't you played this game yet? I'm serious.
Are playing the scariest game of all creation. Probably never heard of it. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's.
Still Freddy, of course, and it looks a lot more like the one we see in the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 trailer, where Freddy is dismantled.
Hey, what up guys, it's Mike here, and I'm going to be showing you guys the top 10 rarest queens in both Five Nights at Freddy's.
Todos bienvenidos a Down Gameplay, bienvenidos a un super estreno.
Second, press the blue unlock button on the back of the head.
What the?
This is looking really nice for me right now.
My god! Oh my god! This is... Oh god!
Shut your mouth, Gerald. cake tin. Remember, Lewis mentioned that Vanessa likes cupcakes. But the biggest piece of evidence was right in front of us the whole time. Right on the table in the
90 days, or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned, bleached, and the carpets have been replaced. Blah, blah, blah. Now, that might sound bad, I know.
Is that the only thing you can say?
Kind of dreading, like a ultimate custom night style, like, you have 0 resources, or so a clash.
Mango has a free eye socket.
No!
Got it, that's true.
And, this is literally, can I just say how literally insane, like, I'm really excited, like, this is